I have heard about a whole lot of hate that's being directed at our trans community. Anybody who is using this as an opportunity to villainize our trans community or any other community out there has lost their sense of common humanity.
Would it be okay if we villainized mass murderers who happen to be trannies that you guys are creating like you've got a tranny assembly line behind the curtain, under the skirt? The Democrats. That is the Minneapolis mayor, Jacob Fry. His brain is not a good brain. Not good at all. Kind of like Jen Psaki. Jen Psaki, not a good brain. Aren't they amazing? Jen Psaki sobbing and crying on live TV because Christians offered prayers. They don't want people praying. That flies in the face of everything the Democrat Party represents at this point. I've got audio that I'm looking forward to sharing with you. I've been looking forward all morning to sharing this with you because I saw the interview and I said, man, this woman is something. And I want to go. I pulled up an article. I did research when I saw the woman being interviewed. I have access to the internet. It's even high speed, I think. I have an iPad. Have you seen those? They're pretty effective and nice stuff. The woman being interviewed dazzled me. I also want to get to Mayor Muriel Bowser fighting crime, and the Democrats are in favor of crime. President Trump's trying to fight crime. Democrats are not in favor of fighting crime. But this remarkable interview, so I still want to get to Democrats being in favor of crime and the mayor of Washington, D.C. Remarkable moment. She's in trouble now with her own party because, there was this woman who was being interviewed, and I saw her. I said, "Wow, this woman's making sense. She's an LGBTQ woman. I think she's the L. I think she's the L part. I think she's focused on the L. That's my guess. But she was, as she was on the Fox News with Jesse Waters last night, and she used to try to convince boys that they were girls and convince girls that they were boys. And she, a couple of years ago, decided that this was all misguided and that she would stop that. And I went and I found an article that she wrote 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, in 2023. Her name is Jamie Reed. Jamie Reed, right? And the Free Press published her story. The headline is, "I thought I was saving trans kids." That's the headline. I thought I was saving trans kids. Now I'm blowing the whistle. All right? And she writes, there are more than 100 pediatric gender clinics across the U.S. I worked at one. What's happening to children is morally and medically appalling. That's Jamie Reed. She says, I'm a 42-year-old St. Louis native, a queer woman. That's a queer. That's like L. Q, LGBTQ. So she's L, she's Q. And she writes, I'm a 42-year-old St. Louis native, a queer woman, and politically to the left of Bernie Sanders. This is how she opens up her thing. And I appreciate that. I really do. Genuinely. Yeah, you're entitled to whatever politics you want. And if you're not completely crazy, then we can hang out. She writes, my worldview has deeply shaped my career. I've spent my professional life providing counseling to vulnerable populations, children in foster care, sexual minorities, the poor. For almost 4 years, I worked at the Washington University School of Medicine, the Division of Infectious Diseases, with teens and young adults who were HIV positive. Many of them were trans or otherwise gender nonconforming. And I could relate, she said. Through childhood and adolescence, I did a lot of gender questioning myself. I'm now married to a trans man. Now, that presumably means a woman who says that she is a man, but she's married to a woman who says I'm a trans man. And together we're raising my 2 biological children from a previous marriage and 3 foster children we hope to adopt. That's a lot of busy stuff going on there. All that led me to a job in 2018 as case manager at the Washington University Transgender Center at St. Louis Children's Hospital, which had been established a year earlier. The center's working assumption was that the earlier you treat kids with gender dysphoria, the more anguish you can prevent later on. This premise was shared by the center's doctors and therapists, she writes. Given their expertise, I assumed that abundant evidence backed this consensus. All right. Then she says, during the 4 years I worked at the clinic as a case manager, I was responsible for patient intake and oversight. Right? Around 1,000 distressed young people came through the doors. The majority of them received hormone prescriptions that can have life-altering consequences, including sterility. I left the clinic in November, November of 2022, because she wrote this in 2023. I left the clinic in November of last year because I could no longer participate in what was happening there. By the time I departed, I was certain that the way the American medical system was treating these patients is the opposite of the promise we made to do no harm. Instead, we are permanently harming the vulnerable patients in our care. Today, I am speaking out. All right, so that is the article that she wrote, and she's a picture of her here. She's got a lot of tattoos on her arms and paragraphs of script written on her right arm, going from her shoulder down practically to her watch. And this is Jamie Reed. Jamie Reed was on the television last night. She was invited on to talk about what had happened at the Catholic school, the Catholic Mass in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And she calls herself a gender center whistleblower, Jamie Reed.
What we see is that gender ideology itself historically has not necessarily been a violent ideology. But what we have right now is an ideology that is preying on vulnerable young people who often have serious comorbidities. And what happens is they are not getting the mental health care that they need. And instead, everybody is affirming and focusing on the trans identification.
I like that she calls it an ideology, the trans ideology, right? And she describes this as a medical condition, a psychological medical condition. And you're talking about vulnerable young people with serious comorbidities, right, and mental health issues, and how they're getting it all wrong. Now, Jamie Reed talking about the killer, a transgender tranny in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and she had looked at the manifesto and the video that the psycho posted.
This young man was suffering from multiple probably delusions, but it becomes really hard for anyone to pull that apart when you have a state that is affirming his delusion that he could somehow become a woman.
Exactly, that how he can somehow be affirming the notion, the false notion that he could somehow become a woman. He can't become a woman, even with surgery and a fake this and a fake that and an implanted this. Jamie Reed, and I was talking about it earlier, but the parents affirmed this to their teenage son and brought their teenage son in to say, oh, now he's a girl and we're going to change his name from a male name to a female name, Jamie Reed.
In this case, it does appear that the family itself had been going along and affirming this belief in this young man.
Right, and that goes to the parents. And then where were the parents when the kid is putting together, now an adult, 23 years old until yesterday, now dead, and affirming the psychosis, the false medical, but the Democrat Party is pushing this all over the country. They're selling it like it's good stuff. Jamie Reed is having none of it anymore.
We think that even a social transition in young people basically puts someone on a pathway that is going to lead directly to medicalization and directly to harm. We see trans ideology as violence on the person and is harmful itself.
How about that? Violence on the person and is harmful in and of itself. And then she talks about the medicine versus social lunacy.
Right now, what we see is there is this huge disconnect between what the actual evidence says. The evidence tells us, the scientific evidence is telling us that medically transitioning, socially transitioning young people does not have the benefit and only really has a severe risk profile. These are kids that are they're unstable to begin with, and then we are taking this core instability and this core distress, and we're just layering on top of it more radicalized ideology.
That is a fact. She says it very well, very clearly. She knows whereof she speaks. She is qualified and certified, and medical science and social science.
I actually participated in medicalizing young people for almost 5 years. And what I saw was that we were harming these kids. They were not getting better. Often their mental health was getting worse. We were tearing apart families. And we also have to recognize that gender ideology tears apart other facets of our society. It tears at sports and families and safety for women and safety for families and kids. And so the ideology as a whole, to me, just became something that I felt like I was participating in harming the exact same patients that my job was supposed to be to protect, to make them better. I was making them worse.
Jamie Reed is right. Jamie Reed knows whereof she speaks. Jamie Reed should be known to everyone. She should be testifying before Congress. And that is the root cause behind yesterday's mass shooting. You know that the all-new third-generation Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier is finally here, and it builds on the incredible success of the previous generations, which earned thousands of five-star reviews on Al Gore's amazing internet. This new Thunderstorm uses two technologies that studies have shown help to kill up to 99.9% of bacteria and viruses floating in the air, in your home, in your office. Also removes dust and pet dander and smoke and all kinds of nastiness that you don't want to breathe. Gets rid of any odor at the same time. The Thunderstorm will help get rid of any stinky smell, guaranteed. Talking about trash cans, cigarette smoke, kitty litter boxes, liberal protesters. No match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. Right now, you can save $200 when you get an Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack for a whole home protection. Put one in your basement, your teenager's room, any place you like to have clean, fresh air. All you have to do is go to EdenPureDeals.com, use the discount code Chris3 to save $200. EdenPureDeals.com, the discount code is Chris3. Thank you, thank you. All right, well, we've got, and I still want to get the crime and the mayor of Washington, D.C. She sounded for a minute almost like she was against crime. Well, that's going to be problematic as an elected Democrat. They like crime. Problem is not our guns, it's your sons. Just saying. Okay, let's go to the telephones because, wait a minute, I see Mike the Lib is on the line. I asked for Libs to call, and I got 2 Libs today. Mike the Lib, you're on the Chris Plant Show. Did I hear, was that you flatulating?
No, Chris.
Sounded a little like flatulence, didn't it?
I just changed from my speakerphone to my, so I can speak to you.
Excellent.
Yes, I think the best way to counteract these school shootings, also carjackings, and also smash and grab robberies, is to use a lot of drones.
Drones?
Because yes, drones. Yes.
The drones have to shoot, right?
No, the drones only have to gather a lot of information. They can use non-lethal force, like pepper balls or pepper spray. They basically just have to basically have a rapid response. And the way you can do that is basically they could be rented out and placed on the building in a charging station. So someone would then push the panic alarm probably for 5 seconds, and then the drone would be launched. Then a monitoring team could then take over the drone and could immediately intercept the person who was either shooting or follow the car that was carjacked or interfere with the smash and grab robbery.
Would we have so drones for smash and grab robberies when they go to the Walgreens or the CVS and they're cleaning off the shelves and using their arms to sweep across the shelves and push everything into big bags?
I'm talking about you'd use that for that too, but primarily the jewelry store things, because they're counting on the police not getting there on time. But you could get a drone there in 20 seconds.
It's amazing how the Democrats have made all this normal, isn't it?
But, I mean, fighting crime, we have the technology to simply do that now, Chris. And I don't know why Republicans would not be in favor of that. I mean, the National Guard should be flying drones, not picking up garbage. It's absolutely ridiculous.
It was funny. A friend of mine texted me earlier because we had a liberal complaining about that, Jerome, at the beginning of the show, the National Guard. The National Guard is called in after hurricanes all the time to clear out debris from hurricane-afflicted areas, aren't they?
Yes, but this is not a hurricane-afflicted area, Chris. They're basically doing yard work.
Well, and
that's the most expensive yard work you could ever possibly have.
Oh, you think it's costing a lot of money?
It's really inappropriate for the National Guard. They could fly drones.
They should fly drones.
They could actually do something useful, but Trump doesn't want to do anything useful for D.C.
Oh, like slashing murder down to almost nothing. And even the mayor, Muriel Bowser, was like, hey, carjackings, you just mentioned you say we should use drones, so we got robots now flying in the sky. By the way, Mike the Lib, I got to tell you, there are drones, police drones flying over D.C. at night in high crime.
Continuous monitoring.
In high crime areas, you don't listen, you don't learn. Mm-hmm. There are already drones being used in Washington, D.C. in the sky at night. But you say we should be using drones. As a former career intelligence officer and a Democrat and Mike the Lib, we should use drones to fight school shootings. So a drone over every school?
No. Chris,
well,
you didn't understand
which ones? Just the schools where there are going to be school shootings?
On the school. No, the drone is available at the school.
Oh, well, that's the plan then.
We can rebuild him. We have the technology.
Well, Mike the Lib, a big hit as always. Drones. Those liberals are always thinking, aren't they? Flying robots. You got to have drones to combat school shootings and smash and grab robberies and carjackings. I think that's pretty good stuff. We were talking about it during the break here. We think you should have drones in restaurants, too, because he suggested pepper balls. I said, well, they have weapons. Can they shoot the school shooters or the carjackers? He said, well, maybe pepper balls. They could maybe fire pepper balls. And then we thought, Jasmine and Michael and I, we were talking, like, maybe they should have these at restaurants. Would you like some fresh ground pepper balls with that? And then, boom, they got to blow up a pepper ball over your Caesar salad or your steak. You maybe got a steak, and would you like an exploding pepper ball over your steak? Yeah, let's start in restaurants, and then they can start fighting crime. And the smash and grabs. But you got to be, Mike the Lib, you got to be able to shoot them. You got to be able to, come on, you can't just hit them with pepper balls. And then you can follow the carjacking thing. But here, see, this guy yesterday had a shotgun. And he could just shoot your drone out of the air. You're shooting him with pepper balls. He's got a 12-gauge shotgun. Bam. It's like shooting ducks in the sky, in a barrel, fish in a barrel. It's come on. But that's the thing. We're thinking drones in restaurants good. Could I get a napkin, and then the drone will bring you a napkin? I need pepper ball with my Caesar salad, because it's Mike the Lib. He's got drones. And honestly, it's true. From where we live, we can look out over the city, and we see a lot of helicopters. There are not a lot of civilian aircraft over Washington, D.C. It's all restricted airspace over Washington, D.C. When you see helicopters, they're military or police helicopters. They're government helicopters. And one or two medevac helicopters going to the Washington Hospital Center, but that's it. And we can see them go there and land on the roof. But then we have these drones that are just up there hovering in place slightly above treetop level, and a couple of them matching that go back and forth, mostly over northeast D.C. and southeast D.C., where a lot of crime happens. And there are drones up there, and I thought they were. And then I talked to some law enforcement and said, oh, yeah, we've got drones. We've got airborne drones over the city of Washington at night. We do. I don't think they shoot anybody, but they can follow a car and things like that. We do have police drones in D.C. So Mike the Lib, maybe he's aware of that, maybe he's not, but we do have police drones over Washington, D.C. I don't know if they shoot, but if they don't now, they will soon enough. And we'll have Arnold Schwarzenegger somewhere pushing a button to fire laser beams at the carjackers and all that good stuff. And also, since Mike the Lib was talking about fighting school shooters with drones, not a good explanation there. And so you have one over every school? He says, no, not every school, just the ones where there are school shootings. They kind of calling in, that's like, after the fact. What do you do then? Photograph it? I don't know what you do about that. But we do use drones. And the mayor of Washington, D.C., who is a very liberal Democrat and a WOC. She's a WOC. She's a woman of color. And also, I know we got requests about posting the entire exchange, the audio that we played of Jamie Reed, who used to work in the transgender kids industry, and now she's had enough of that. And it's true, her audio is very, very good audio, very strong audio. And I would listen to her. I could talk to this woman all day long and have a perfectly good time with her, I think. Just fine with me, everything she said. Because she makes sense, and she's not a crazy person, and she's not an idiot. Obviously an intelligent, well-spoken person. She does have a lot of tattoos on her arms. Look at this thing. I can't read it from here, but looks like about 1,000 words written up and down her right arm. That's probably not the Declaration of Independence. It's probably something else. But let's go to Mayor Muriel Bowser. Mayor Muriel Bowser. Bow Wow Wowzer. And yesterday, she was having a press conference, but she was speaking first to the cameras and the press. And everybody there, they're all press. So they're all Democrats because they're all press people in Washington, D.C. And they like carjacking and they like looting and smash and grab robberies. And they're fine with all the crimes because they're Democrats, and Democrats love crime. They don't care if it affects them or not. That's, makes it real if they get mugged. But here is Mayor Muriel Bowser yesterday at her press conference, and she screwed up. She said Trump isn't all bad, and in fact, crime is way down since President Trump and the federal government started fighting crime. And she's like, it's been going down for a while because last year we had a spike in murders and carjackings, and then the Wuhan Red Death out of Wuhan, China, funded in part by the U.S. taxpayer, thanks to Anthony Fauci. When we had the Wuhan Red Death, then crime spiked across the United States because Democrats had more free time to commit a lot of crime, and so they did. Mayor Muriel Bowser yesterday, accidentally said she's grateful and thankful for what President Trump is doing.
We greatly appreciate the surge of officers that enhance what MPD has been able to do in this city. The most significant thing that we are highlighting today is the area of crime that was most troubling for us in 2023.
Murder?
And we have driven it down over the last years.
Now she's trying to hedge a little because she sees the eyes rolling from the news media standing in front of her at this event. But she said, we greatly appreciate the enhanced, manpower. So wait a minute, you mean more police means less crime? Because that's the opposite of what the Democrats have been saying. You need social workers to go out and be stabbed by mentally ill people. That's what they're going. And it's true that we had like 960 carjackings or something, and then the number of carjackings went down, and hopefully the number of murders will go down. We had no murders for 11 and a half days. Then there was one murder yesterday or night before last, and the Democrats applauded. They're like, yeah, we're back. We're back, man. You can't keep us down. We're going to keep murdering. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser, she's a Democrat.
For carjackings, the difference between this period, this 20-day period of this federal surge and last year represents a 87% reduction in carjackings in Washington, D.C. We know that when carjackings go down, when the use of gun goes down, when homicide or robbery go down, neighborhoods feel safer and are safer. So this surge has been important to us for that reason.
The Trump surge, which includes federal law enforcement agents who sometimes have, a Democrat come up and hurl a foot-long Subway sandwich in their faces and then run away like girls. And then yesterday, the Democrat grand jury decided that they're not going to charge the man. Here's the videotape of the Democrat who was a Department of Justice employee, a Democrat. He's been fired by the Department of Justice, probably already been hired by another Democrat group. Maybe the Maryland Department of Justice or something has already hired him. But a D.C. grand jury yesterday refused to indict the man seen on video, obviously assaulting a federal law enforcement officer. And the reason the grand jury refused to indict the man is because they're Democrats. And that is 100% the reason that they failed to indict this now former Department of Justice employee. Just amazing stuff. Your Democrat Party. They refused to indict Sandwich Man. And, they had posters of him up around the city of Washington. I'm not even kidding, of Sandwich Man. Larger-than-life posters, rows of them on the sides of buildings, because he's been turned into a hero, and the Democrats didn't want him indicted, and so he was not indicted. The New York Times is excited. Prosecutors failed to secure indictment against man who threw sandwich at federal agent. And the New York Times couldn't be happier about that because they want to see more of that, more assaults on federal officers. It'd be a shame if he had been shot, the guy throwing the sandwich, by federal agents. Yeah, NBC fake news. Grand jury declines to indict man who threw sandwich at federal officer in D.C. The former Justice Department employee who threw sub at federal officers in Washington and came to be known as Sandwich Guy was indicted on federal felony charges because here's the videotape of him obviously committing felony assault on a federal law enforcement agent. And then you hand it over to a grand jury in Washington, D.C., and no indictment. Even NBC News wrote, and I talked about this yesterday, you could get a grand jury to indict a ham sandwich, the saying goes. I brought that up yesterday. But in Washington, a federal grand jury just declined to indict a man for throwing a salami sub. The grand jury did not return an indictment against former Justice Department employee who was seen on camera throwing a hoagie at the chest of one of the federal officers President Trump has deployed to the nation's capital, watching the murder rate plummet, watching the carjacking rate plummet, and the Democrats are angry about it. According to two people familiar with the matter, NBC Fake News reported yesterday, grand jury's decision not to indict Sean Dunn, he should be fired from any job that he ever might have, is another sign of pushback from Washington, D.C. residents in favor of crime over Trump's deployment of the National Guard and other federal law enforcement agencies in the city. The National Guard is not a federal law enforcement agency, Not that the people at NBC News know the difference. So, and federal law who've put the city a particular focus on immigration enforcement because the Democrats opened the floodgates to tens of millions of illegal alien gang members and rapists. The New York Times was first to report the news. Now, that's the Democrat Party. They won't indict. Here's the videotape, and they won't indict. Now, again, Mayor Bowser says Trump surge helps reduce crime. And that's the headline at the Washington Post from this morning. Bowser says Trump surge helps reduce crime, but hurts trust in police. But that's you got to have a negative because it's the Washington Post. It reduces crime, but it hurts trust in police. You know, if that hurts your trust in police, you didn't trust the police in the first place. But the Washington Post is a ridiculous left-wing rag and not a newspaper at all. Their slogan is, it looks like a newspaper, but it's not. We know we've had fewer gun crimes, fewer homicides, and we have experienced an extreme reduction in carjackings, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser said on Wednesday. More than 2 weeks after President Donald Trump declared a crime emergency in D.C., and sent hundreds of federal agents into the city streets, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser said she believes the boosted law enforcement presence is working. We know that we've had fewer gun crimes, fewer homicides, and we have experienced an extreme reduction in carjackings, she said at a wide-ranging news conference Wednesday afternoon, flanked by top city officials, including the chief of police. We greatly appreciate the surge of officers. Sure, enhancing the work of local police, she said. Wow. Her Wednesday tone, largely upbeat, stirred swift rebuke among some D.C. council members who are pro-crime and pro-criminal. Janice Lewis George, Democrat from Ward 4, said she was deeply disappointed. You recognize that there were fewer murders? Deeply disappointed that there are fewer murders. She's disappointed there are fewer carjackings. Charles Allen, they're all Democrats, but they say D after them anyway, wrote online that the federal intervention was wrong. Call it out. Says this is wrong. Call it out. They want more murder. They're Democrats. I've been saying this for how long now? More Democrats, more murder. More Democrats, more crime. More Democrats, more carjacking. They love crime. You know, they like the word embrace. They embrace crime. They're in favor of crime. They fight for crime. And here they are, putting it on their sleeves, wearing it on their forehead. And they're like, oh, people are living in fear of the police. Only if you're a criminal. People who are not criminals and who are not here illegally don't live in fear of the police. But Democrats are so corrupt and so ignorant. How do you say ignorant? It's more fun to say ignorant than ignorant. You know, the big wireless companies are pulling one over on all of us and have been for some time. It's time to make the switch to consumer cellular. Listen, I made the switch. I'm getting the same fast, reliable, nationwide big wireless coverage, but without the big wireless money, the cost in the bill every month. It's not just about saving money, although that's real good. It's about not being used and abused by the big cell phone companies. You probably don't even know how much data you use every month. Most of us don't. Most people over 50 use less than 8 gigs of data in a month. If you're 19 years old, you use about 10 times that. And the big wireless companies, they shove you into an unlimited plan because they need you to, pay the money to redistribute your wealth to cover the cost of 19-year-olds using 10 times as much data. And if you're not using all that data, then you are the one being used by the phone companies. When you've had enough of that, go ahead and switch to consumer cellular. They set me up with a service and a phone. Incredibly easy to make the switch, too. You make a call, you talk to an actual human being. They're based right here in the United States, not a robot on a space platform. And they're helpful. Imagine that. Only takes you about 20 minutes. So give them a call today and make the switch. Call 1-800-760-0702. That's 800-760-0702. Yes, sir. All right. We have our grand finale coming up. Will there be crimes or more Democrat transgender, blood-drenched mayhem in the minutes we have remaining? Well, no one knows for sure, but you don't want to go anywhere.
Qualifications.
Rape, murder, arson, and rape.
You said rape twice.
I like rape.
Yielding. Charming.
Now, the local ABC television station, they have a news broadcast they do. And what's the reporter's name? John Gonzalez, when he was dispatched down to Union Station. President Trump, so we need to stop allowing everything to turn into a homeless shelter for illegal alien gang members and rapists, and cleaning up Union Station and National Guard people there and police there, and started cleaning up. And he said he's talking about spending millions and millions to restore Union Station, one of the country's great buildings. And here's John Gonzalez of ABC News 7 in Washington, D.C. at Union Station today.
We wanted to give you an inside look. We are in the main atrium here at Union Station, and I got to tell you, in my opinion, the place looks better than it has in years, cleaner than it has in years, but there's still plenty of empty retail space.
Yes. See, the Democrats, they chased all the businesses out because they turned it into a homeless, junkie, thieving. Go ahead and loot the place. We're not going to arrest you. We're not going to charge you. Criminals welcome. Business owners not. And who was it yesterday in the news media saying, oh, now Trump's going to clean up Union Station. Oh, just like the fascist that he is, Mussolini made the trains run on time, and now Trump's going to clean up Union Station. And then they got back to wiping out the black population in the womb while they called everybody fascist. But they literally were calling him a fascist yesterday, the Democrats and the media, for saying that wanted Union Station to be a gleaming example of American architecture and transportation and of our nation's capital. It should be a gleaming city. It should be pristine. I've been to third world hellhole countries where their capital is cleaner and less crime-plagued than Washington, D.C. is. And the Democrats will fight you every step of the way and call you every name in the book, trying to maintain the status quo, deadly though it may be.